We're live. Good morning, everyone. Let's all take our seats. We have a very special guest this morning. It's good to see everyone. Hope everyone's ready for another big, exciting day at BlogPaws. I am just thrilled to be able to announce our keynote speaker today. I heard Peter Shankman speak quite a few years ago, and it has left a lasting impression, a good one, Peter, on my brain. He's an author, he's an entrepreneur, he's a speaker, he's a worldwide connector. And we are so proud to have him today at BlogPaws to talk to you about social media and Zombie Loyalists, his book. So Peter, welcome. Let's give him a warm welcome, please.
All right. That was, I literally got mic'd up 11 seconds before you finished talking, so awesome. Thank you.
I have a present for you. I have a cat bag,
sweet.
and I have another cat bag.
Cat bags, awesome. Let's talk about cats versus dogs for a second. Because I walked in yesterday, and I was walking around for a little bit, and about 35 minutes in, I'm like, wow, so this is dog paws. Where's cat paws or blog paws? Or because some of us have cats. And it was great when Mars dropped off a nice, beautiful dog bag for me last night, like 9:30. I'm like, oh, okay, well that's for, and that, and maybe I could eat it, but. Yes, I am a cat person, and there are a few of us here today, so thank you guys for having me. This is going to be fun. We're going to have a good time today. I apologize to whoever's filming me because I walk. I'm going to walk around. I'm going to go into the audience. I have massive ADHD. I was actually diagnosed with something much worse several years ago. I'm just taking crap out of my pockets now. Called ADOS. If you haven't heard of it, that's attention deficit. Ooh, shiny. So a lot of what I say is going to be very confusing. But yeah, why are you listening to me? I wasn't supposed to be doing any of this. I was in graduate school. Christ, I'm fat. Jesus, like, it's like the camera adds 10 pounds. No, that's the pizza, you dumbass. Is it? Wow. This is gonna be. You guys are gonna have a fun hour. So before I do anything, I'm at Peter Shankman on all of the socials. Anything I say is tweetable, is postable, and you don't have to hide your phone while you're doing it. I know you're doing it. I'm an NYU professor, and I know when my students are texting because no one ever looks down at their crotch and smiles. So you are welcome to do anything you'd like. As I'm talking, feel free to tweet or post anything I say. So yeah, I wasn't supposed to do any of this. I was in graduate school. It's hard to person before you have caffeine. Caffeine makes me person better. I was in grad school studying fashion and portrait photography in the early 90s because it was a spectacular way to meet women. No, I was on a beach in California in Santa Barbara with a camera to do the math. With 18 credits to go, I lost my financial aid. The government sent me a letter that said, your parents make too much money, we're taking away your financial aid. See? Dogs. Cats don't do that shit. I had 18 credits to go with my graduate degree, and the government sent me a letter that said, your parents make too much money, we're taking away your financial aid. And I sent the government back a letter that said, my parents do make too much money, but they keep it. And government did not find that funny. So I moved back home, and anyone here under 30? Raise your hand if you're under 30 in the audience. Okay, some of the shit I'm going to say today isn't going to make any sense to you whatsoever. I was hanging out in something called the Melrose Place TV Gossip Chat Room on America Online. What a shock. People who devote their lives to cats and dogs know about online chat rooms. So I'm in this chat room, and someone says, my company's building a newsroom. You have a journalism degree from Boston University. Why don't you send me your resume? I said, sure, I have no experience. I'm sure that that'll work perfectly in my favor. And 2 weeks later, I was being moved down to Virginia to become one of the founding editors of America Online News. I launched the newsroom at AOL, and for those who remember AOL back in the day, it was welcome, you've got mail and then today's news. We built that. And I learned some really valuable lessons in the building of that newsroom that I want to share with you. Basically, I don't use PowerPoint. I think PowerPoint's for the weak. I think if you can't tell your story without notes, you have to become a better storyteller. So all I'm going to do is just tell some stories. And that's my goal today. So some of the stories involve AOL. When I was at AOL, so we made up this newsroom as we went along. We had no idea what we were doing, but we learned two things. The first thing was that our job was very simple. See, back in the 90s, the internet wasn't free, and it wasn't in the air. You had to plug into something, and it cost $2.95 an hour. And working at AOL, as people thought AOL was the internet, oh, you work for AOL, you work for the, like, I went into a room every day that said the internet on the door, and me and Al Gore just, like, shot the shit, like, every day, like, and that's what people thought, oh, you work for the internet. And I was so early at AOL, I actually had Peter at AOL.com, right? I thought that made me so cool, it didn't, but I actually couldn't use the address because everyone was getting on the internet at the time. Everyone was like, oh, my friend Peter's on the internet, he must be at AOL, he must be Peter at AOL.com. So the email box was always full of misdirected emails to other people named Peter. So every Friday in the newsroom, we'd open a six-pack and we'd just project the emails onto the wall and read. There are some Peters in this country doing some freaky-ass shit, all right? But, so we learned these rules because essentially we worked at AOL and our job was very simple. The only way to make money was to keep our members online as long as possible. How did we do that? We created stuff they wanted to see. Okay, we created content that they wanted to see. And let's face it, 99% of the stuff on the internet today is bullshit. It's horrible, it's clickbaity, it's pointless. Okay, Facebook has become the new AOL in that regard. I can look at any of you and create a clickbait headline in 5 seconds. She fixed her hair with your ear, and you'll never guess what happened next. And that's, or as she was caught holding her, 15 pictures of her getting caught holding her dog. Number 6 will blow you away. All we had to do was create stuff that people wanted to see, because if people wanted to see it, that meant they'd stay online. If they stayed online, they'd pay us $2.95 an hour. Now, the interesting part of that was, how do you create stuff people want to see? Well, you create stuff that people want to see based on the audience you have. And that was a fascinating lesson to learn as early as I did when I was like in my early 20s. If you listen to your audience, they'll tell you exactly what they want. The biggest problem we have as content producers, as bloggers, as people like that, is we spend all our time producing this content. We spend all our time talking. We don't spend shit time listening. And I really want to encourage you guys to change that. Because if you can listen to your audience and actually give your audience what they want as they ask for it, you'll be beloved. So we're going to talk about that, because when I wound up creating a company called Help a Reporter Out, or Harrow, thank you. We listened to the audience, and okay, so secret. The name of Harrow, the corporate legal entity name of Harrow when I owned it was called, it wasn't called Help a Reporter, that was the company, the holding company that was the legal company was called 2 Cats and a Cup of Coffee, LLC. Because when I sent out the early morning Harrow at 5:15 in the morning, the only thing up with me at 5:15 in the morning were my 2 overweight cats, me, and my cup of coffee. So the name of the actual holding company was 2 Cats and a Cup of Coffee, LLC. But when I send out these queries every morning, and during the day, we talk to the audience and find out what they wanted. And so I'm a really big believer in it. If you simply give your audience a little bit more of what they want by listening to them, they'll become beloved. And I'm going to show you some stats that prove that out. So I was at AOL for a couple of years, left AOL, moved back to New York. It was the summer of '98. There was an independent film coming out on video that you probably never heard of. It didn't do that great. It was called Titanic. And everywhere you looked, there were signs, buy Titanic on video, buy Titanic on video, buy Titanic today, get it today or we'll kill your children, everywhere you looked. I lived in New York City. I was in a studio apartment roughly the size of, like, you. And I had no money, and I wanted to start a PR firm because I had this idea that I could do PR for the .com world better than the .com people could, better than the big agencies could, because it was a faster time, right, 1998. The summer of '98, had no money. Titanic was coming out, so I took my rent money. I had 500 T-shirts printed up with my rent money, and the T-shirts read simply, "It sank, get over it." And I went to Times Square, and I figured if I could sell 180 shirts at $10 a piece, I'd make my rent money back. Anything more than that would be profitable, and I could put it towards starting a PR firm. Anything less than that, I could use to, like be homeless. So I had to sell 180 shirts to make my rent money back. I figured it would take a week. I sold 500 shirts in 6 hours on a Friday night, made $5,000. Came home, threw it up in the air, rolled around in it naked. You'll never get that image out of your head. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you, guys. Says the fat guy. So I did that. I made $5,000. I called a reporter I knew at USA Today. Next morning, I said, I did something really funny. I thought you'd get a kick out of it. The reporter said, my God, it's hysterical. So, what, you selling the shirts online now? And I went, of course I am. That's why I called you. I mean, duh. This was 1998. There was no Cafe Press. There was no WordPress. There was, hi, puppy. There was Peter and his, craptastic HTML skills. It was like, buy shirt, click here. You'd click to send me an email that you wanted a shirt. I would email you my snail mail address. You would mail me a check. For those old enough to appreciate this reference, I built the Rube Goldberg fulfillment process. And when the reporter said, okay, that's really funny, we'll see what we can do, I immediately forgot about it, ADD, and focused on something else. Like, oh, my cat's doing something, whatever. And it was 5:30 in the morning the next morning, and the phone rings, and it's the hosting provider of my network. Mr. Shankman, sorry to call you so early on a Monday morning. Have you started advertising? This is the hosting provider for your website. I'm like, no, it's 5:30 in the morning. What the shit? I said, sir, normally you get about 100 visitors a day to your website. Most of them are you. This is fun. How can I help you? Sir, you've had over 37,000 unique visitors in the past 2 hours. You've taken down our first, second, and third primary servers. You're about to crash our fourth, fifth, and sixth. Sir, we have 7. We'd love to know what's going on. Story ran on the front page of the Life section of USA Today. As I hung up the phone, it rang again. I had no idea what was going on. Phone rings again. It's Howard Stern. Hey, come on down to our studio. Talk about the T-shirt. Okay. Hung it up again. It was People Magazine, Newsweek, and Today's Show. 250 media outlets, over 250 media outlets covered the anti-Titanic T-shirt, and in just under 2 months, I sold a little over 10,000 shirts on the web at $15 a piece, and cleared $100,000. Now, here's where this gets funny. How did I handle fulfillment? Well, I would have boxes and boxes of T-shirts sent to my apartment, and my father was a high school principal of a New York City public school at the time, and I would have him send me his kids that had to be in detention. And instead of detention, they'd come over to my apartment, I'd buy them pizza, and they would box and ship T-shirts to the post office. It was like P. Diddy's studio sweatshop apartment. But yeah, it was pretty awesome, and I learned this incredibly valuable lesson. So I'm out in Times Square with these T-shirts, right? If I did that today, okay, here's what would happen. I'd go out there with my T-shirt. Some asshole with a camera in his phone would take a photo, and within 5 seconds, there'd be 30 Etsy sites selling my shit. Okay, I wouldn't get a penny from it. And you all know this, as you're all trying to figure out ways to monetize your blog and things like that, you got to brand everything you do. Every single thing you do has to be branded back to you. Because if it's not, someone will steal it. And if someone steals it and they get the credit and you don't, there's nothing more annoying than that. Okay, you'd rather have not made anything than have made something and have someone else steal it and you don't get the credit for it. Everything you do has got to be branded back to you. Okay, and there are tools out there that will help you do it. If you write a great quote in your blog, instead of allowing people the ability to just copy it and tweet it as their own, put a little click the tweet button next to it. It costs, I think, $8 a year. Click to tweet.com. It'll turn any sentence in your blog into an immediate clickable tweet. Okay, things like with a link back to you. All these things that you want to have back to you, because if it doesn't come back to you and you don't start making that brand and you don't start making your brand aware to everyone else, what's the point? Everything you do has to be branded. Any triathletes in the audience? Total segue. Any triathletes? All right. What's the longest race you ever done? Ironman. Really? Which one? New Orleans. No shit. What year?
Last year.
Cozumel, 2010. So we have that share. Good for you. What was your time?
Like
8 million hours? Okay. That sounds about right. I did this. My time was about 8 million hours too. I did an Ironman in 2010 in Cozumel, Mexico, and I finished it. And I did a second Ironman this past summer in Louisville. Anyone from Louisville? No, good, because I would totally give you shit about your weather. It was 104 degrees when that race started. And I had the best swim of my life and best bike of my life. At mile 13 of the marathon, they asked me what my name was. I said, Peter. And they said, great, Peter, where are you right now? And I said, New York City, which was a problem because I was in Louisville. And they pulled me off the race with about 105 fever. and my organs were shutting down. Like 5 liters of saline, and yeah, I nearly died. But when I did my first Ironman, I made this video called "I'm Training for an Ironman." Okay, some of you may have seen. It's these two computerized heads talking to each other, and it was based on the girl I was dating at the time. This woman who was a yoga instructor, and as such, never understood why I couldn't go out to dinner with her, right? Or go out to dinner with her and her friends, or go for brunch, because brunch is a thing for yoga people. And it was all because I was training. I had to do a long bike ride, long run, whatever. And so I made this video showing it, and I posted it online. And a few friends of mine saw it, and they thought it was very funny. And I came back about 3 days later, and there were about 50,000 views and growing, and I couldn't figure out why. I traced it back to a tweet that went public 2 days earlier. Hey, cyclists, really funny shit, check this out. And it came from Lance Armstrong. And this was before we knew Lance Armstrong was entirely made up of chemicals, and we still respected him. So, shock of shocks, Lance Armstrong tweeted out my video, and the video now has about, like, I think close to 2 million views. I've made like $6,000 in YouTube money. But it's like, yeah, it's like not real money, it's like YouTube money. It's like whatever they use in Middle Earth. But I was able to, so I was shocked, and so I ran back, for more, see Shankman, totally blew my chance at getting the world to know more about me from this video. Brand everything you do. You never know what you're going to create that's going to explode, that people are going to want to see, that's going to go viral, whatever it is. You can't make anything viral, okay, but you can make something good. Whenever you make, assume it's good and brand it so it comes back to you. So fast forward, I launched Help a Reporter Out in 2007. I did it as a favor to some friends. It was acquired in 2010. I've since written a bunch of books. Zombie Loyalists is my latest one. It's my second bestseller. It's about the concept that, and here's the basis of this speech that I want to talk to you guys about. Zombie Loyalists' basic premise is this: in any customer service interaction, we expect to be treated like shit. Okay, true or false? Who flew here? Who had a good flight? Why was it good?
On time.
Uh-huh.
And friendly.
Okay, so where'd you fly in from?
Los Angeles.
You flew from LA to Nashville. And what airline?
Southwest.
Okay, so she flew Southwest from LA to Nashville, and she purchased what's called a contract of carriage, right? That contract of carriage says, I'm going to give you money, airline, and in exchange, airline, you're going to fly me on a certain date and time from a certain location to a certain location. That's exactly what they did. They didn't let you fly the plane. They didn't, like, find you a date on the plane. No, nothing like that, right? But they just got you where they said they would get you on time, right? And when I asked who had a good flight, you were jumping out of your goddamn seat. You were over the goddamn moon. This is the greatest flight ever! Holy shit, it was on time! What does that tell you about what our expectations are for customer service in this country? Holy shit, my flight was on time. This is the greatest day ever. Moses has come down from the mountain, and everything on the tablet says Southwest was on time. If our friend over here is so excited about that, that tells you something about the state of customer service in this world. So here's the thing. I'm not going to go all Tony Robbins on you guys. I'm not going to be like, find your inner tiger and fuck that. Shit's ridiculously hard. Screw that. Look at this dog. This dog's like, I'm just going to sleep. All right, that's pretty much what we want. I don't want you guys to like go find your inner tiger. The hell with that. I just want you guys, ready for me? Hear me out here. I want you to be one level above crap. I want you to leave this session and this conference going, you know what? I'm 1 to 2 levels above crap, because if you are, you'll win. Every single time. Because if we're expecting our flight to be delayed, if we're expecting our dry cleaning not to be ready when they say it is, if we're expecting our Coke to become a Diet Coke or our Diet Coke to become a Coke, all you have to do is just be, and everyone will love you. So let's talk for the next half hour about how to be, So there are 4 basic rules when it comes to how to be a little bit above crap. Oh, God bless. 4 rules. The basic premise of Harrow was this. I wanted to help people. Okay? I wanted to create something that helped people and that made people's lives easier. By the way, make sure someone manages to get a good photo of me surrounded by my picture on TV, because that'll become my new Facebook cover photo. So someone grab something and email it to me or tweet it out over there. But I'll give you a copy of my book if you do. So when I ran Harrow, I came up with these 4 rules because the basic premise, like I said, is we expect to be treated like crap. I created Harrow to help people. If I can help journalists, if I can help sources, if I can combine them all, great. Anyone not know what Harrow is, by the way? Anyone? Wow, okay, I think it's the first. Everyone here knows what help reporter is. That's awesome. So, thank you, whatever. I sold it 4 years ago, stop. Keep using it, it's still free as far as I can tell, and it's still apparently very valuable. So, the first rule I came up with when I had Harrow was basically the concept of transparency. All right, what's the concept of transparency? Well, as early as the 80s, information all our lives, information since the dawn of time has wanted to be free, right? But it took until like the late 80s, early 90s for information to actually have the ability to be free. What do I mean by that? In 1984 or 83 or something like that, a company called Union Carbide. You remember them? Union Carbide had an accident in Bhopal, India, where they accidentally put, it was like 25,000 pounds of cyanide gas into the atmosphere over Bhopal, India, killing 20,000 local people within 3 hours as they slept in the middle of the night. The first press release they issued that the New York Times ran with said that, 2 workers were slightly injured when a steam pipe ruptured. And the New York Times ran with that because the New York Times had no idea they didn't know how to spell Bhopal, let alone have someone there covering it, right? Well, fast forward to like a few years ago, everyone remember where they were when they found out bin Laden was killed? Right? I was in a hotel room in Colorado watching it on TV, and I expected Obama to come out and say, my fellow Americans, today I learned on Twitter that we took out Osama bin Laden. You know, information wants to be free, and we now live in a society where it can be. I'll give you an example of this. I'm going to go on my phone right now as we are talking, okay? I'm going to go into social, and I'm going to click on Periscope. Anyone use Periscope? Okay, they just released it for Android yesterday because we're like this subhuman class of people. I'm going to go on Periscope. I'm going to click on Start, and I'm going to currently giving a speech. Periscope lets you show live video as you're doing it. Okay, and I'm even going to hashtag it BlogPaws. And I'm going to send it to Twitter, and I'm going to hit Start. And I am now live giving a speech in Nashville, Tennessee, but sharing it with the world. Hi, world. Everyone wave. You're now live on Twitter. No, I'm over there. Oh, crap. Okay, hang on. Right, now you're live on Twitter. Okay, everyone cheer. So, there are currently 6 people watching me give this speech there, and, a couple of hundred in the audience, and who the hell, and this will be live forever. Laura Nativo, hi, Peter. R. Shep, I see me. Who the hell's R. Shep? Where are you? R. Shep 29. So, my point being is that information wants to be free. Right? So if information, I'm giving a speech and there are dogs and cats here. Han, whoever's watching at home, you're not. So information wants to be free, right? If information wants to be free, what does that mean about when you screw up? When you screw up, that means you're not going to be able to hide it. Because for the first time ever, if information wants to be as free as it can be, then there's nothing you can do about it. Look, me periscoping, me periscoping, me periscoping, me periscoping. Okay, we're going to shut this off now. We're going to end it. Stop broadcast. Okay, cool, that was fun. So, if information wants to be free, what does that mean to you when you screw up? It means that you can't hide it anymore. It means that someone is going to find out, and it means that you have only one option. When you screw up, which you're going to do, by the way, own it and get in front of it. If you own the problem and fix the problem as it's happening, you will become beloved. You will turn haters into lovers. There is no greater lover in the world than a former hater. Think about when you were on a flight and something got screwed up and then they went out of their way to fix it. Or you're at a restaurant and they screwed up your order and they gave you a free dessert, whatever it is. Oh, wow, that was so nice of them. All of a sudden, you're a loyalist to them. You're going to screw up. When you do, get in front of it and own it. And when you own it, the whole world will know, hey, they're honest, they're true, I can trust them. Trust has to be at the core of everything you do in the social and global sphere because that's all we have. We live in a world where we expect not to trust people. We expect people are going to lie to us. If you can prove that you're trustworthy, especially when you screw up, people will love you. So, own it, transparency. And to give you an idea of how transparency works, I'm going to give you a great story. Who's from New York? All right. So on one end of the spectrum, you have a guy named Elliot Spitzer. Okay. On the other end of the spectrum, you have a guy named Anthony Weiner. In the middle, you have me, who's like 7 years old and just loves going Spitzer, Weiner, Spitzer, Weiner. Okay. So Elliot Spitzer, governor of New York. He was going to be the next mayor. I'm sorry, he was going to be the next president. When he screwed up, he was having sex with the very people that he was supposed to be putting in jail. He stepped down from office, and within 2 days, he was out of the country, and you could not find him. Mark my words, $100 as I stand here, he will be back in elected office within 5 years. He owned it. He said, I screwed up. I'm out of here. See ya. Came back a year later, held a CNN show. He'll be back in office. On the other side, you have Anthony Weiner. For those not from New York, you should know Anthony Weiner is going to be the next mayor of New York. This is not a question. This is not a statement. This is a fact. He was going to be the next mayor of New York. It's not opinion. He had the backing. He had good looks. He had a hot wife. He had Hillary Clinton behind him. He was going to be the next mayor. He had the money. All he had to do was not screw it up. When he sent out those tweets, all he had to do was get on stage and say, you know what? My bad. I was trying to have some sexy time with my wife, and I don't know how to use the Twitter. And we would have made fun of him in New York City. We would have laughed at him for 8 hours, as is required by law. But then he'd be mayor. Instead, he owned that. He left that shit open for 8 weeks. 8 weeks. By the third week, he's saying, I must have been hacked. I believe I was hacked. When he gave that press conference saying he was hacked, I was in the green room of Fox News about to go on the O'Reilly Factor, standing next to Geraldo Rivera, of all people. And my first thought is, okay, so they hacked your zipper. I don't know how they did that. Then I turned to Geraldo and I go, this is bullshit. No one knew who he was 3 weeks ago. He was not important enough to get hacked. There was no way in hell he was hacked. And Geraldo goes, that's really an interesting point, Peter. And he fixes his makeup. And then Geraldo goes out to do the A block on O'Reilly, and I was scheduled to do the C block. And I'm sitting there, and Geraldo goes out, and Bill O'Reilly says, Geraldo, what do you think about this press conference you just said? You think it was hacked? And Geraldo goes, Bill, I've been giving this a lot of thought. I don't think he was important enough to get hacked. I'm in the green room going, douche! So, yeah, he comes back. He's like, what'd you think? I'm like, asshole, really? So Geraldo steals content. I want to put that out there. Brand what you do, right? So Geraldo steals content. But at the end of the day, all Anthony Weiner had to do was admit it, and he'd be the next mayor. And today he'll be lucky to be the most popular history professor at the University of Arkansas. Own your mistakes. That's transparency. That's rule 1. Rule 2 is the concept of relevance. How many of you get your news from a newspaper? I read the Sunday Times. I still love newspapers. I believe there's still a place for them. TV, how many of you watch the Today Show for news? That was a trick question. The Today Show's not really news. It's more entertainment. But CNN or Fox or whatever. Okay. I was just on Jazeera last night. They asked me to come talk about the FIFA. I've been doing a lot of talking on FIFA lately in crisis management. And they drive me to this, it's the funniest thing. They drive me to this studio about 15 minutes south of this hotel in the middle of an office park. There's this giant satellite studio. And I walk in, and it was crazy because here we are, like, not really the South per se, but like Nashville, which is certainly not like New York or, like Mecca. And they go, I buzz and they go, Al Jazeera! And it's just the weirdest thing to hear the words Al Jazeera said with like a Southern accent. It was like, hi, you come right in. Salam. So yeah, it was but it's pretty cool. I did a live remote from Nashville. So, but if so I go on TV. I do this, but the concept of relevance is that we get our news from TV, from radio. How about who gets their news from the internet, right? From the web, okay, from Twitter, from Facebook as it's breaking, right? I get my news from podcasts. I get my news every morning. I go for a run. I know it doesn't look like it, but I do. I go for a run in Central Park, and I listen to podcasts that I download the night before, from New York Times, BBC, things like that. I choose to get my news a certain way, and they choose to give it to me that way, and so they become relevant to me. I'm the asshole, by the way, who got a ticket for running in Central Park, a summons, last year for running in Central Park before it opened. Yeah, and apparently the thing to say, the thing you don't want to say to the cop when he's writing tickets, how do you close nature? But I got a ticket that I had to go to court and fight. I beat it, but I had to go to court for exercising in Central Park before it opened. Technically, the charge was violating curfew. And I said to the cop, I was there at 4:45 in the morning. I had to do 10 miles before an 8 a.m. meeting. I said to the cop, I said, you're giving me a ticket for exercising. He goes, yeah. I'm like, for exercising? I mean, look at me. I was exercising. I'm trying to do everything Bloomberg wanted us to do, and you're giving me a summons for it. He goes, yeah. I'm like, just to confirm, I wasn't giving hand jobs for crack. I was exercising. So, yeah, you'll never, ever have a keynote for the rest of your life where the guy says hand jobs for crack in his speech. But BlogPaws manager was like, what the hell? Who did we invite? But as you're, here's the thing. As you're being relevant, right, to your audience, we all get our news in a different way. Back in 1955, we got our news two ways. We got our news, the newspaper in the morning and the nightly news in the evening. The average age of the nightly news viewer in 1955 was 31 years old. The average age of the nightly news viewer today, anyone? Dead. So if you are someone trying to get your audience, right, between nightly news, TV, radio, print, you've never had to deal with more fractured audience in your life. You guys are bloggers. You're trying to reach an audience who every day decides how to change their mind on how they like to get information. Okay? Damn right. Print, online, TV, radio, blogs, whatever it is. You have to learn how your audience likes to get their information. And how do you do that? Ready? Listen to me. Hear me out. This is important. I'll wait. The best way to find out how your audience likes to get their information, ask them. We have never lived in a society where it's been so damn easy to get information from our audience simply by asking them how they like to get it. Ask them questions. Every day, talk to your top 5 people. It could be a different top 5 people every day. Reach out to 5 people. Ask them how they like to get their information. Give it to them. On the Harrow, when I ran it, we had 1-question surveys every day. Or every month. We'd say, hey, do us a favor. Check this 1-question survey. We're trying to make something better for you. Maybe 1,000 people would fill it out. I would then spend all weekend figuring out the number one answer, and we'd implement that, and I would email everyone who did that number one answer, who picked that number one answer, and I'd say, hey guys, Mark, just want to let you know, we're implementing your idea on Monday. Jennifer, thank you so much for the poll. We're implementing your idea. It was your idea and 800 other people's, but Jennifer didn't know that. And Jennifer would check the Harrow and go, oh wow, they really did it, look at that. Here's a stat for you. That, when I would reach out and say, thank you for doing it, we're doing what you asked, that audience member, that reader becomes engaged. An engaged reader of your blog is 2.5 times more likely to do what you tell them to do. Whether that's buy something, whether that's click on an affiliate link, whether that's buy an ad, whether that's click an ad, whatever it is, 2.5 times more likely if they feel like you are talking to them as opposed to talking to an audience. Having an audience, guys, is a privilege. It's not a right. Okay, we're not born with the right to have an audience. We're born with the right to create good shit. And then hopefully that will bring us the audience we want. But we don't have the right to an audience. It's exactly like wearing spandex. Okay, I look around the room, there are maybe 5 people in the room right now who have the right to wear spandex. The rest of us, it's a privilege that we're still in the process of earning. I've been in the process of earning that shit for since birth. And when I run a race, when I do the Ironman, I have the privilege of wearing spandex during the Ironman. As soon as the Ironman's over, someone comes up to me 5 minutes later, sir, you have to put this big shirt on and take off that. Okay, I get it. It's a privilege. But it's the same thing with having an audience. Having an audience is a privilege, not a right. You got to know what you're doing and make sure you're doing the right thing. And you do that by making sure the audience has what they want. Listen to your audience. And by the way, if you don't believe that the relevance matters, I work for a nonprofit animal society. They're my pro bono client in the Midwest. Okay? Not going to tell you which one, but here's a really interesting story. A friend of mine was a skydiver. I'm a skydiver in my spare time. I have about 500 jumps. And a friend of mine was killed in a base jump several years ago. And her husband said, instead of a check or whatever, send a donation to this animal society. So I sent them a check, and they sent me a coffee table book about 3 months later. And I was single at the time, living in New York City, and didn't own a coffee table. And I'd look at this book. For about 15 seconds, I threw it into a corner, knowing I'd never look at it again, and it started pissing me off. And I wound up calling their head of giving or whatever. I said, why the hell would you send me this book? Why wouldn't you send me, a YouTube link or something I could share with friends, maybe, pass around, and plus it would save you guys money? Well, we believe that our audience is older, and most of them are probably not online. I'm like, so you've done research? No, we just believe. I'm like, oh, for Christ's sake, and I joined their board. And we spent the next year interviewing every current and past donor, and shock of shocks, 94% of them would prefer to get their information online. So we started a Facebook page, a Flickr channel, a YouTube channel, the whole 9 yards. In the next 12 months, what happened? Donations went up 37%. This was 2009. Not the best economy in the world, and donations went up 37% for their little nonprofit. Oh, and by the way, they saved over $500,000 in printing, mailing, and reproduction. Go to your nonprofit that you work for. Hell, go to your boss, all right, in your real job, and say, hey, boss, increased revenue by 37% and saved you $500,000 in costs. Best alcohol you've ever had in your life will be brought to your desk within 10 minutes, okay? Understanding your audience is the key to generating revenue and the key to getting your audience to do what they want. That's rule 2, that's relevance. Rule 3 is my personal favorite. Rule 3 is the concept of brevity. And brevity is just a fun little rule. You said you were under 30, right? Who said they were under 30 over here? What's your name? Rebecca? All right, Rebecca, I can't get to you because the camera guy will get pissed off, but I'm going to tell you a story. Oh, fuck it. Rebecca, let's chat for a second. So, all the way back in the 80s, bunch of guys got together. Sorry, where's Rebecca? There you are. Bunch of guys got together. Yeah, of course, Rebecca's right behind the girl wearing cat ears. What the fuck conference am I at? Jesus Christ. So Rebecca, seriously, right? That's scary or good. So all the way back in the 80s, a bunch of guys, all the way back in the 80s, when you were like an embryo, right? A bunch of guys got together and they said, we want to take those songs you hear on the radio. Radio was like Pandora before the internet, okay? They said, we want to take these songs you hear on the radio and we want to make little movies out of these songs. And we're actually going to call these movies videos. And we're going to create a television network to play these videos, and they called it MTV, or music television. Now, I know this message with you, because as long as you've been alive, Rebecca, MTV has been a reality channel. But I swear to you, before I'm Snooki, or I'm 13 and pregnant, whatever shit they're shaking, before all this, right? Children of the 80s, back me up on this. God forbid someone was in our way as we were trying to get home to watch the world premiere, 4 p.m. world premiere video from like Madonna. Madonna's like Lady Gaga, but she had kids. Right? Or Duran Duran. Right? Or Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson, which is the ultimate irony. Michael Jackson, you guys don't know this, played the greatest practical joke in the world. He convinced 18 million white kids that we could dance. In 1983, he put out an album that convinced 18 million white kids we could dance, and we couldn't. And it's a lot funnier back if you understand that in the 80s, Michael Jackson was black. But so this is an amazing time. But here's where it gets interesting. So for those who are old enough to appreciate this, you haven't heard this name in 30 years. Attorney General under Ronald Reagan, a guy named Ed Meese. Remember that name? What a heartfelt liberal he was, not. So Ed Meese was responsible for two things in his tenure under Reagan. The first thing was the Ed Meese Commission on the dumbing down of, the Ed Meese Commission on pornography, where he spent $25 million to discover that Americans like porn, which I would have done for like $250 and a trip to 7-Eleven at the time. The other thing Ed Meese was famous for was the Ed Meese Commission on the Dumbing Down of America. He spent, I think it was like $75 million. He had the heads of MTV and VH1 all come down and testify at a Senate House subcommittee hearing where he essentially believed that because of MTV, or as he called it, the MTV, right, America was getting stupider, and we were actually going to lose to the Japanese because the MTV was giving our children of tomorrow a 3-minute attention span. That was his belief. A 3-minute attention span was going to kill us all because the Japanese were going to, his words, kick our ass because of the MTV. Okay. A 3-minute attention span. As I look around the room, iPhone, Android, iPhone, Android, BlackBerry? Seriously? That's awesome. 2008 called. They want their phone back. But Android, laptop, everywhere I see it, I would give my right arm to be talking to a room with a 3-minute attention span. Because you don't have it anymore, and neither does your audience. A study came out, I think it was Stanford a couple of years ago, the average attention span, 2.7 seconds. 2.7 seconds to reach someone looking at your site for the first time. 2.7 seconds. 2.7 seconds to try to get them to do something, to sell them something, to have them buy something, to have them read something, to have them click somewhere, to have them broadcast your information. 2.7 seconds to create a zombie loyalist. Now, 2.7 seconds is roughly 140 characters. Now, I'm going to go off on a quick rant here. 140 characters is what? Okay. Do we all understand the difference between Twitter and a text? Between Twitter and mobile? I don't think we do. Here's why. 60%, 65% of the world has been involved in the sending or receiving of at least one text message in their lives. Less than 7% of this country has ever tweeted. Understand your audience and know where they are. We understand texting. We understand that our phones can do more than just make calls for two reasons in this country. 9/11 and American Idol. Those two things taught us that our phones could do more than make calls. On September 11, 2001, I was third for takeoff on the runway at Newark Airport on a United flight heading to the West Coast when the first tower was hit. All my parents knew is that their only child was on a United flight out of Newark, supposedly leaving around that time. All I knew is that both my parents, who worked in New York City as teachers, were in the city at that time. Couldn't get through to them on their cells. They couldn't get through to me on my cell. I was able to send a text message to my father's phone about 90 minutes later that read, "Not my plane." And that's how they knew I was alive. That was the first time my father actually, I was afraid he was going to look at the text icon, confuse it with the voicemail icon, because he had never sent a text before. I don't have a voicemail. Why does it keep saying I have a voicemail? But He figured it out. That was the first time they'd ever sent or received a text in their lives. 13 years later, I can't get them to stop texting me. It's not funny. They went to Asia about 4 months ago. It was like I was there. And they have WhatsApp with camera. It was like I was there with pictures 12 hours in the future. It's a Japanese dog. It's a Japanese tree. It's a Japanese... Mom, it's not Japanese food over there. They just call it food. You're good. Because you're in Japan. Right. So here's the thing. They get texting. They don't get Twitter. They follow me on Twitter because they want to know what I'm saying. And every morning when I say something self-deprecating about myself, which is pretty much every day, my mother calls me to yell at me for it. She calls me to discuss the tweet. That's the equivalent of my going to your house to see if you got the FedEx. My father, he doesn't even do that. He just replies, which would be great if he replied to Peter Shankman. No, he just replies to Twitter. He replies like it was a text message to Twitter. So if you read my father's stream, yes. Oh, stop it. No, you're not. 42. Next Thursday, I think. A poodle. No, with your aunt. What the hell? You'd look at this without context and think the man was having episodes. So, why do I bring that up? Because mobile is the future. Text messaging is simply an outlet. Text messaging is what we're going to do, and mobile is the future. Twitter may or may not succeed. I reference that because if we're talking about brevity, oh, well, I can send everything out in a tweet. No, be mobile. Okay, mobile is brevity. Twitter is just a pipe. So if all you have is 140 characters to reach your audience, and you have 2.7 seconds to get them, guys, hear me when I say this. How do you differentiate yourself from every other blog out there, every other website trying to do the same thing, trying to grab the same audience? Please listen. Become better writers. Bad writing is killing America. Bad writing is destroying this country. Bad communication is destroying this country. Okay, look to your left and look to your right, and here's why I say that. Do it now. 1 out of every 2 corporate homepages or blogs in this country have a spelling or grammatical error on the homepage. So here's the thing, all those people going like this mock outrage of, oh my God, that's disgusting. Well, look to the person to your left and look to the right, and if it's not them, it's your ass. Become better communicators. How many of you do videos on your blog? Okay, how many of you speak in public? Okay, so help me God, if you haven't taken at least one improv class, you're an idiot. Go take an improvisational class. Take an improv class where you learn how to become a better communicator, where you can answer every question with it, and then. Because if you can answer every question with an and then, you'll never be stuck for words. Okay, the greatest thing I ever did in my life was study drama as a kid. I'm up here, and I'm getting paid for this shit. Okay? All the stuff that used to get me in trouble as a kid, stop talking in class, is now making me money. Become better communicators. That is brevity. Brevity is good communication. And good communication will save you, and that's the only thing that will differentiate you and keep people for more than 2.4 seconds. That's brevity. Rule 4 is my last rule, and that's how I wrap it up. I have no idea how I'm doing on time. What time is it? It's 9:15. So if I'm supposed to be off the stage, just tell me. But, it's not like I'll leave, but tell me anyway. You have 5 minutes. That's funny. So rule 4 is the concept of what I call top of mind. All right? And top of mind is pretty awesome. So what is top of mind? Top of mind basically means that you want to be remembered as the first thing of importance when someone thinks about what you do. Okay? Well, let's look at United Airlines. I love United. I'm actually a huge fan of United. I think they're getting a lot better. I think they're doing better. Okay. So every time I fly United, every single flight, they send me an email a couple days later, tell us how we did on this flight. And survey. Okay? And I have to click, and I get a link, and I fill out the survey. For 240 flights in a row, okay, I've gotten this survey, and I have filled out 240 surveys. And in the what can we do better on our next flight box, for 241 flights now, because I had my flight yesterday, I have put the same thing in the box every single time. One line. On my next flight, please refer to me as Peter, Lord of the Skies. I have requested that 241 times. Now, here's the thing. I don't expect them to do that. But you know what would be nice? What would be nice is if one day I just got a response that says, you know what, we're not going to do that, but we get it. You're funny. right? Or we've heard you. Please stop. So, or seriously, we're going to take you off the pre-check list if you don't. Anything. Because now, if they haven't responded 241 times, what that tells me is they're not reading my surveys. And if they're not reading my surveys, that tells me they don't care. I know they care. So they're deliberately shooting themselves in the foot without realizing it. So we need to start being better. We need to think in terms of how our audience thinks, and that's top of mind. So what is top of mind? I will give a shiny copy of my book, because there are 8 copies floating around somewhere. I don't know what the hell they did with them. I think they're back there. I will give a shiny new copy of my book to anyone who can tell me the first company that Barry Diller was ever CEO of. What was Barry Diller's first CEO job? What company? Nope, close though. Paramount. Who said Paramount? All right, I can't see you. Whoever the hell said Paramount, come up and get it. He was CEO of Paramount. Awesome. Now here's the thing about Paramount. How am I starting an argument over here? I don't have the book here. Go sit down and I'll bring you the book when I'm done. This is why we can't have nice things. Okay. So, she like, middle of the stage. So, book. So, Barry Diller was head of Paramount. He was working as an agent when he was offered the position. Everyone told him not to take it. They said, Paramount's it's horrible. And it's true. Paramount was 4 feet from bankruptcy at the time. In the mid-'70s, they were the worst studio in Hollywood. But he went and he took the job. And here's what he did. He went and he did 2 things every morning that were different. He got in the office a half an hour early. Never underestimate the power of getting up a half an hour early and going to bed a half an hour early. It'll change your life because that's your time, right? Get up a half an hour early. That was the first thing he did. The second thing he did is he'd pull out his Rolodex. Back in Rolodex was like Outlook. It was like Outlook, but it had cards. You'd turn. Okay. He'd pull out his Rolodex. He'd call 5 random people in his Rolodex every day just to say hello. Hey, it's Barry. What are you working on in LA? How's the weather in New York? What's going on? What are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. Over the course of 3 months, 4 months, you get a call from Barry Diller every 3 or 4 months asking, what are you working on? Over the course of a year, if you were in Barry Diller's Rolodex, 3 to 4 times a year, the head of Paramount Pictures called and said, hey, how can I help? When you had a movie you wanted greenlit, or you had a 5 actor you wanted to sign to a 5-picture deal, you could have gone to 20th Century Fox or Warner Brothers, or you could have called Barry back. Barry was top of mind because he reached out to you when he didn't need anything. Between 1976 and 1987, Barry Diller was responsible for such films at Paramount as Beverly Hills Cop, Flashdance, Footloose, Officer and a Gentleman, 3 Men and a Baby, Ghostbusters, Top Gun. He turned Paramount from the worst studio in Hollywood to the first billion-dollar studio in Hollywood by reaching out and saying hi when he didn't want anything. You have that ability. All right, we're all on Facebook. We're all on Twitter. We all have the ability to reach out to our audience, yet we talk to less than 1% of our audience on any given day. That is pathetic. So here's what I encourage you to do. After this conference, go home. Find 10 people in your network you haven't talked to in a while. Figure out what's going on in their world, and then engage them in conversation on their wall. And by the way, sup is not conversation. Engage them in conversation on their wall, or unfriend them. Why are they in your network in the first place if you're not talking to them? Now here's where it gets interesting. All right? And watch as everyone tweets the crap out of this. In the next 24 to 36 months, the concept of friending, fanning, following, and liking will disappear. You will no longer friend anyone. You will no longer like anyone. I have a 2-year-old daughter right now. You know what she's doing right now? She's asking everyone she meets, will you be my friend? Because that's what 2-year-olds do. The last time you friend requested someone in the real world, 2nd grade, will you be my friend? After that, you don't need to because social logic takes over. And if you have the same thing in common as someone, and you guys like each other, and you hit it off, you become friends. You don't need to ask for permission. Why are we still doing it online? We won't be soon. Stop doing things for the likes. Start doing likable things. Okay? Start creating things that make people want to talk about you. Stop trying to force them to click a button because it's going to go away. And here's why. Within the next 36 months, everyone you meet, everyone you work with, everyone who visits your blog, everyone who you talk to, everyone who you physically engage with or online engage with will automatically be in your network. They'll just be added. To what degree they're added, we'll base it on relevance. What's your name?
Chloe.
What is it?
Chloe.
Chloe. Let's say, okay, Chloe's not liked by a lot of people. So, let's say I meet Chloe at a bar. In today's world, I meet Chloe at a bar. She seems really interesting. I get her cell phone number. I email her. I say, hey, I'd love to add you on Facebook. I friend request her. Hope she remembers me. She approves it. Okay, now we're friends on Facebook. Over the course of time, Chloe and I start dating. 6 months into our relationship, we're dating all the time. We see each other all the time. Great. Eventually, I do something stupid. Chloe breaks up with me. I'm a student of history. This is exactly what's going to happen. Now, when Chloe breaks up with me, you know what she has to do? We have to unfriend each other on Facebook. That is the most awkward goddamn thing in the world, unfriending someone that you just broke up with. I dated a woman for 3 years. We broke up. It took 9 months before. We were friends on Facebook after we broke up for 9 months because neither of us wanted to do that awkward thing. Every night, I'd have to look and see who she was having a nice dinner and date with. And every night, she'd have to look and see who I was having pizza alone on my couch with. And until one day, I look online, she unfriended me, bitch. But here's the thing, that's very awkward. It's not going to happen anymore. Here's what happens in 12 to 24 months. I meet Chloe at a bar. I text her, hey, it was great meeting you. She texts back, hey, great meeting you too. And Google, or Facebook, or Google if they merge, says, I hope that's what they do when they call it, says, oh, interesting. Peter and Chloe, their phones were next to each other and they just texted each other. That's really interesting. That's a new network connection. Let's keep an eye on that. I text Chloe a couple days ago, hey, great meeting you. Do you want to hang out sometime? Sure, Peter, I'd love to. That sounds great. Well, what's the sentiment in those texts? Love to, great meeting you, great, let's definitely hang out. That's all positive sentiment. The network knows that's positive. That's touch points 3 and 4. We meet at a restaurant, we meet at a bar, touch points 5 and 6 when our phones are next to each other. Okay, they're in the same triangulation ratio. Touch point 7 and 8, you want to go grab some food? Sure, I'd love to. I make a reservation at an open table under both our names. We both show up at the restaurant, touch point 7 and 8. At that point, touch points 9 and 10, when we sit down to eat, the network says, okay, they're friends. I don't need to friend her. She'll see everything in my network that I allow someone new in my world to see, and vice versa. As we keep hanging out and keep being together, she'll be the first thing I see in my network when I wake up. I'll be the first thing she sees in hers, until I do something stupid and she breaks up with me. But we don't have to unfriend each other. We just fade away. Imagine a business. Imagine your blog. If I go to your blog every single day, I don't need to like your blog anymore. The network knows I like it. Okay? Go to a Teespring page. Go to a blog page. See what kind of ads come up on Facebook 30 seconds later. Okay? We're here. It's here already. It's happening. Okay? I can tell you, I can grab anyone's iPhone in the world, and I can, in 3 clicks, I can tell you exactly where you've been every day of your life for the past 6 months. Every day. Don't believe me? Come up on afterwards. I'll show you. I can do it on Google, too. It's not hard. It's perfectly public information. Why? Because you gave Google and Facebook permission to get it when you downloaded their software. And here's the thing. It's not creepy. It's going to help you. Here's why. In 24 months, without fanning, following, and liking, imagine your network, and this is going to sound weird, but hear me out. Imagine your network is a lava lamp. Lava lamp, oil, water, heat source. Heat heats the oil, it rises through the water, it makes pretty designs. I've heard it looks great when you're high. I've heard. Now, imagine everyone you meet, every business you interact with, every company you write about, every person who reads your blog is a drop of oil in your lava lamp. The water is your world. That heat source is relevance. Okay? Imagine someone reads your blog and it really impacts them and they like it and they want to share it with friends. As they share it, your relevance goes up not only to them, but in their world and everyone following them. Okay? It's happening already. When I land in Los Angeles and I type in steakhouses near me into Google, you know what Google shows me? It shows me all the steakhouses near me, but it also shows me any steakhouse gone to by anyone in my Google Plus network if they liked it. They don't have to leave a review. Google is smart enough to figure out, hey, you know what? Mark seemed to like this steakhouse because he said really good stuff about it, and he said, love this martini, great steak, tastes like butter. All that's really positive stuff. So I'm going to show Peter that steakhouse before I show Peter the other results in Google Maps because Peter and Mark are friends. Think about that. Think about when every choice you make is decided for you by people in your network already. Show me flights to Fiji. Well, I could do that, Peter, but I can also tell you that your friend Michelle went to Fiji last month. She stayed at this hotel. Here are her Instagram photos. And here's the flight she took because she loved it on Expedia and she posted about. Done. So what does that come down to? How do you create zombie loyalists who want to go out of their way to talk about your world? Be 2% better than crap. Be awesome. Treat them like a human being and not like a number. When Harrow was sold, I tried to figure out why it was sold for as much money as it was. I didn't think it was worth anything near that. And what wound up happening is that I found out that the people that bought it had interviewed about 1,000 of my members, 1,000 of my users. And what was the first thing? Oh, I feel like Peter talks to me every day. I feel like it's my company. I feel like I'm a part of it. I wasn't doing anything special. I was just being a nice guy. Being a nice guy has tremendous, tremendous value. Going a little bit above crap and treating people like a person, not a number, will change the world. And when that's all that matters, because if I go to the same restaurant every day because I love their food and they treat me well, anyone who comes within my network and says, I need a place to go for lunch on this day is going to see that first. Anyone who wants to know about pet, anyone who wants to know about blogs, anyone who wants to know about pet supplies or blogs or dogs or cats or whatever it is you blog about, when they go through the network, Hannibal Lecter said it best in Silence of the Lambs, we covet what we know. We will look towards people who we know to give us that information, and when it's automatic, that's where it's going to get really interesting, and that's 24 months out, max. So your goal, treat your audience well, because here's another quotable tweet for you. You get the audience you want by being awesome to the audience you have. Okay, the people that you have right now are your best brand ambassadors in the world, and they will do your bidding for you. Look, everyone has that one friend who loves the Olive Garden. True or false? Okay, you work with this guy, and you're in the office, and you're like, hey, I want to go for lunch. Say, Olive Garden and breadsticks. Everyone has that one breadstick psycho. Okay, now not for nothing. I was giving a speech at the National Restaurant Association 3 weeks ago, and someone from Olive Garden heard me say that, and like 2 days later, like 60 breadsticks showed up in my office. That shit is really good. I'm not denying they're kind of like breadstick crack, but everyone has that one friend. Why? Because they had an amazing experience with Olive Garden, or they were treated well. Okay, not what they expected. Can you treat your audience just a little bit better? And I'll end it with an interesting story. A lot of people know the Morton's steak story that I talk about all the time, where I jokingly, I was at the airport flying home from a meeting in Florida, and I jokingly sent a tweet. Hey, Morton's, why don't you meet me at Newark Airport with a porterhouse when I land in 3 hours? Ha, ha, ha. And I like you tweet, hey, winter, please stop snowing. And I showed up at Newark Airport, I landed, I found my driver, and standing next to my driver was a guy in a tuxedo with a Morton's bag. Now, no, that's not worth applauding for. Seriously, the fact that you applauded for that, go give $20 to an animal rescue charity. That's just, no. It's everything bad with the world. No, but here's where this gets funny. So, look, was that great customer service? Sure, but it wasn't a customer service move, because Morton's job isn't to bring steaks to the airport. Morton's job is to create an amazing experience when you go to Morton's. Okay, so what does that mean? That means that when you go to Morton's, anyone ever been to a Morton's? When you call them and make a reservation, you know what they say? Whether you call them a first time or a million times, they ask you, are you celebrating anything? Okay, and you can be, no, I'm just fat and I want a steak. Shut up, that's fine. Oh, Mr. Shankman, welcome back. We know you're not celebrating anything, you're just fat and want a steak. But on the flip side, if you are celebrating something, oh yeah, it's my wife's birthday. Oh great, what's her name? Her name's Kira. Great, we'll see you in Kira Friday 8 o'clock. You show up Friday 8 o'clock, and you know what happens? You go to your table, there's a little paper menu on there that says Happy Birthday Kira on the top of it. You know what happens next? Kira spends the next 45 minutes Instagramming the shit out of that photo, and I can't get a drink. Oh my God! Who are Kira's friends? People just like her, who want that exact same experience. Kira has become, and she's a freaking vegetarian. That's the funniest shit. This vegetarian woman has become a zombie loyalist for a steakhouse because they put Happy Birthday Kira on the top. What can you do to just be 1% better than crap? Now, I can't talk about all this and not eat my own dog food. Ha, dog reference, see? Eat my own dog food and be real about it myself. So write this down. Ready? Write this down. Can you flip back to that one? Can AV flip back to that one slide you guys have for me, if that's possible? That one. I don't have a slide. It's a bet. So that's my daughter. That's Jessa, and that's me. But here's what's interesting. That's my email. That's my Twitter and everything, and that's my cell phone. I encourage you to write it down. And if you're ever in New York, text me. Let's go for coffee. Let's go for a run. If you ever want to shoot the shit and say, hey, you know what? I have this marketing idea. Is it crazy or not? Email me. Want 20 minutes on Skype with me? Email Adam@shankman.com. Adam's my assistant, and Adam will hook you up with whatever you need. 5 minutes with me, 20 minutes with me, because that's the nice thing to do. And it's the right thing to do. Because we live in a society where most people wouldn't do that, and you know what? I don't like to be like most people. So I encourage you, use that, and focus on that, and if I can ever help you, reach out, because you guys were nice enough to give me an hour in front of you this early in the morning when most of you are probably hungover, and so for that, I'm really, really grateful. My name is Peter Shankman. Thank you. Oh yeah, gotta photograph the standing ovation. Hell yeah. Never get to not photograph standing ovation. Woohoo! That's okay. I love that dog. What's the dog's name? Awesome. I don't know how we're doing on time. I don't know if we can take questions or what the story is. Do we can? Yeah, we have questions. I know we have microphones here, and they told me to make sure you go to the mics if you have questions. like a Donahue thing. If not, yep, I think you can ask your question. I just think you're supposed to find a microphone. Where are the mics? Oh, shit, mic person. Okay, so questions over there. Other mic person. There you go, microphone. Go for it. Oh my God, you're holding a dog. Okay, go ahead.
How does Morton's feel about the fact that they get to be mentioned in your speeches all the time?
Morton's, I think, likes the fact they get mentioned in my speeches. But, here's the thing. If I mentioned Morton's all the time and their food sucked, I'd be a shill.
Right.
Right? And so if I ever go to Morton's and have a bad experience, I guarantee you I'll never mention them again. And that's where it comes down to the fact that they take pride in their customer service. Ritz-Carlton does it too. Ritz-Carlton hires for people. They'll teach you how to make a bed. They want to hire for people that care about people. What else?
Do you have a statistic on how many times you need to answer a reporter or different reporters and be heard or interesting, or so is there a statistic? So that's all I need.
Anyone watch Archer? I love when he does that. So I understand your question. Let me rephrase it with a better answer.
Okay.
The question is, how the hell do you get a reporter to listen to you? And the answer is very simple. Hit the reporter up when they're not on deadline. So if you have a one-paragraph bit about why you're awesome and what you do, send that out when they're not breaking news and say, hey, you know what? I'm happy to help you. If you ever need an expert on blah, 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 this is what I do. Feel free to call me day or night. That right there breaks the ice. And then on a deadline, when there are a deadline, hey, remember me? I sent you this email. Here's what I do. Call me anytime. Here's my cell phone number. So essentially, there are people who set their alarms on the East Coast to wake up from the morning harrow at 5:45 in the morning. And they get the morning harrow so that they can then scan it before anyone else does at 5:45 in the morning. I personally think that's ridiculous, but I get it. So yeah, you just want to be as quick as possible, to the point. They're reading millions of emails. They have 5 seconds, if that. One paragraph, here's why I'm awesome, here's what I do, here's what I can help you send.
I hear you. That's great.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Okay, we're going to come here. Hi.
Hello. Okay, so I understand what you're saying about asking your audience for really who they are and what they want. Do you have any other tips or ideas beyond that on how to really figure out who your target audience is?
Well, it's funny. Asking who your target audience is to me is like asking me to tell you whether you like the color orange or the number 7. I can't tell you that. You have to you have to figure that out from your audience. People say, "Oh, should I be on Twitter or Facebook?" How do I know? Where's your audience? So the bigger question for you is, can you figure out a way in the blog post that you're writing or the stuff that you're putting up there to diverge your audience? So for instance, can you create a post that says, one of the interesting things I find is there's a great app. Here's a great example. Do something like this. Promote an app. Find one of your favorite apps, a dog walking app, whatever you got, right? And find the iPhone equivalent and the Android equivalent, and put them both up there, and then track them. And say, guys, I really like this app. I don't get any money from it, but you should check it out. I find it very useful. Okay, that tells you right there, 44% of your people are iPhone, 62% are Android. Okay, there's your first start. From that, you can start to identify information from them. Hey guys, do you prefer email or what do you prefer, email or text? Let me know in the comments. Little tiny things that start to give you an insight into your audience without being over questioning, like, hi, what do you like? You don't want to be overly attached girlfriend. You can create ways for people to understand what you're doing simply by asking those types of questions. Leading questions are wonderful because we live in a society where essentially the only time we stop talking, the only time we say we're listening, but what we're really doing is we're just taking a breath, right? So we talk and we talk and we talk, and the person listening to us isn't really listening. They're just waiting for us to stop talking so they can start. So if you just show the easiest signs of listening in the world, I could sit down with you for 30 seconds right now, ask you like 3 or 4 specific questions. Like I can ask you your dog's name, and I can ask you your hometown, and I can go log in as you and read all your email. So all I want to know is like basic stuff about you. So yeah, you can share that, and you can ask in your post, hey guys, tell me what you think about this, this, or this. And they'll leave the comments, and that tells you massive amounts about your audience. Cool. We out of time? No, I don't care. I'll stay all day. I don't care.
One more question.
Go.
Last one. Hi, Peter. I'm Christine with Oh My Shih Tzu. I would like to know.
Of course you are. I'm Christine with Oh My Shih Tzu. That's just spectacular. Good. I'm glad there's a cat. About time. No, I just love Oh My Shih Tzu. That's spectacular. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Thank you for all the great advice and tips you gave us. But what is your number one piece of advice you've received from someone else?
Wow. Never have received from someone else. So there's anyone know who Lou Lamoriello is? No hockey fans in the audience? Of course not. It's a dog conference. Who's Lou Lamoriello? He was the general manager of the Devils. Right, he was general manager of the Devils. I spent a year working for the New Jersey Devils hockey team in the late 90s as a consultant. And above the exit to the arena from the locker room, right, where the Devils played, there was a sign on the wall. And it read, "Good isn't good enough when better is expected." Okay, and I've tried to live my entire life by that principle with the basis that, and you can apply it to this, if we expect crap, be a couple of levels above, right? It's the same thing. You know, we expect crap. If you can be a little better, and let's face it, the other thing that I'm a big believer in is that we do live in a world that does kind of suck, and every single one of us is fighting a bunch of demons at any given time, and we're all looking for someone whose demons play well with ours, but at the end of the day, we're all going through shit. And, you know, I'm blatantly honest about my stuff. There's actually a conference coming up in New York called Gratitude and Trust Conference, and I'm giving a speech about ADD and addiction and how the two are very, very similar. And I know myself and I know my body very well, and I constantly am fighting to stay on the right side of ADD, because people with ADD have a very easy, people with actual diagnosed ADD, not like, oh, I lost my keys, it must be ADD. Shut the fuck up. No, you're not. You know, people with the actual conflict of ADD, which can be a great success, and I credit a lot of my success to my ADHD. But on the flip side, ADHD and addiction are very, very similar on the neurospectrum, and you have to know yourself. And so the best advice I could possibly give you is to listen to your gut. I have never, ever, ever gone wrong when I've listened to my gut. The only time I've ever really screwed myself is when I haven't. And you're going to get lots of people, as you get bigger and as your blogs get bigger, who tell you, oh, maybe you should do it this way, or how about listen to yourself first. It's great to have mentors, it's great to have people who give you advice, but no one will ever be as passionate about what you're building as you are. And so at the end of the day, listen to yourself and take all the advice and take everything else in the context that you get. But at the end of the day, when you go to bed, there's a little voice inside of you that's going to tell you right or wrong. That's the one you have to listen to. That's the only one you should be accountable to. So anyway, I'm going to stick around in the back. I'll take questions. I'll answer to people I promised books to. Come find me. Thank you again, guys. Oh, yeah, awesome. Yeah, let's do this. Best friends will love this shit.
Yes. As you all know, our keynotes allow us to donate on their behalf. Peter chose Best Friends Animal Society. And this is credit to every person sitting in this room, too, because if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't even be able to do this. Mm-hmm. So all of us share in every donation made during this event. So thank you.
And so funny story. So I've done several speaking events for Best Friends, and I'm always talking to them about, hey, you guys should make me your keynote for your national conference, and they always pick someone famous or whatever. And like, I was really bugging them really hard, like the past 6 months. Guys, come on, I want to be your keynote next year. And like just yesterday, they announced who the keynote was, and it wasn't me. So enjoy your ill-gotten gain check, Best Friends. Next year. All right, thanks again, guys.
Thank you very much. We do have some books. Peter will be here. Few quick things for everyone, just so you know what's going on today. Reminder, Wi-Fi password, all lowercase, BlogPaws 2015. There will be pet sitters tonight. We've heard a few people asking about that. See a staff member, and you can find out how you can hire a pet sitter if you want to take the shuttle to go into downtown and have some fun. There will be coupons for the shuttle so that you can take it for free. You need to go to the hotel front desk and show your badge so they know you're with BlogPaws and not just some random person, and then you'll get a little coupon that will get you downtown. It leaves on the hour, so 8, 9, 10, 11 from here, and it comes back every half hour. They'll tell you where, I'm not sure, but it's in downtown Nashville. When you get on, they'll tell you where to be to get picked back up. Also, the coffee bar is out during exhibit hall hours and not during the day through the afternoon and stuff, so find it, get coffee. We all need some caffeine. Table topics. Those of you who want to do table topics, the sign up is not online. That's just information about it. You have to go to the registration desk, and there's paper out to sign up to get a table topic for today. So check there if you want to do a table topic and sign up for that. If you didn't get the Mars bag, or if you were a cat person and you got a dog bag, sorry. I hope that didn't happen to too many people, but we have cat, we have dog, we have extras. If you had your do not disturb sign in your key, then you didn't get a bag because they won't go in your room if that's there and it was just a room drop. So they're at registration. Just go up and let them know who you are, and they'll give you your messenger bag from Mars. So that's there for you. Go get it when you can. Next is the snack break with Dog for Dog. Go check them out. They have a really good story to share, and there's more to it than just dog. It's actually about their shelter rehab, and there's a lot going on with that. Rocky will be there to talk about it. We'll have a video to show towards the end, so stick around. And don't forget about lunch. We actually have a very special guest during lunch. Silver Rescue, which is a local, very small rescue, is coming. And each of you are going to help us donate meals throughout the lunch to them based on some actions that you're going to do. And hopefully we're actually going to get them supplied with over 50% of what they need for the year. It's a huge thing for them. The woman coming is just amazed and very excited to talk to everybody. So see her. Hills is bringing them in to do that and making the donation. So it'll all be there, and that's during lunch. And last, don't forget about the Yappy Hour. Don't forget about Project Runway. All those things are happening later. They're fun, and Robert Semro is still doing interviews for anybody interested. That's all. That was a lot. That was a lot more than I thought, so thank you. Yes. Leave it. Thank you. Enjoy your day.
It's right before my eyes and I can take it if it's what I want to do.